Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast. Guys, we have something that popped up that we didn't expect to talk about. I know it's not your run of Real Madrid news, and what a time to disrupt the programming because this is a pivotal month for Real Madrid. We got the season on the line in 3 competitions in February. There's a lot to talk about, but we never thought we would see the day where our beloved Luka Doncic, one of us, Real Madrid Baloncesto, since day one, would get traded. Not like, I guess it was always a possibility, but to get traded for 10 cents on the dollar in unprecedented fashion was ridiculous. And I know there's a lot of people listening who want our thoughts on it because you're not only Real Madrid fans, you're Luka Doncic fans. A lot of you guys are Mavericks fans. A lot of you guys are Lakers fans. So we have that perspective as well. Congratulations to you guys. And I thought there's no one better in the world to bring on than our good friend Michael Sartain. Michael and I did a podcast from Vegas. If you remember, a few months back, we did an entire Luka Doncic episode. If you haven't listened to that already, you should go and do so. But Michael is a Dallas guy. He's also formerly in sports radio, now runs a very successful company called Men of Action. And he has got an awesome basketball mind, as you guys have already seen on that previous episode. So let's jump into it. Welcome, guys, and we're going to bring Michael on in about 20 seconds here.
Nice article in the Managing Madrid blog. Wonderful lads that do a great job there. And it's worth reading about that man there. Karim Benzema needs to rest, and the numbers reveal why.
Times ended up almost looking like a 6-3-1. Some very good writing about that on the Managing Madrid website. First great podcast as well. Of course, Fede Valverde was a huge part of the equation.
Michael Sartain, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, what's going on? Good to have you. Good to be on here, man.
You know, I always ask my guests, how are you doing? And it is a sincere question, but I truly mean it in this situation. How are you? How are you doing?
Well, waking up, it felt like kind of waking up after a breakup, and every time you wake up, you forgot that you're going through a breakup, and it's really hard. Today, just reading that Luka cried when he found out that he got traded. He doesn't want this just as bad as we don't want this. And I think one of the things that happened is, when you first initially hear the trade, of course, it sounds ludicrous because it is ludicrous. Those of you who are like, I know there's some naysayers online who are like, oh no, the Mavericks won this trade. The Mavericks did not win this trade. Okay, those of you who are living in some level of cope and insanity, Anthony Davis gets injured more frequently than Luka Doncic. This is not a good trade for the Mavericks, short term or long term. They're not a better team because of this. You can try to make whatever cope you want. This is a 3-and-D type of league, and now the Mavericks have 3 7-footers that they have to put on the floor for significant minutes. That doesn't make us better. That doesn't make us more likely to be able to compete for a championship any more than it did with Minnesota when they had Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So like this is a very, very poor trade. And what's so confusing about this is that Nico Harrison had done such an incredible job with getting Lively, getting Gafford, and then getting PJ Washington. It really looked like this guy was making all the right moves because of connections that he had. And then it looks like, furthermore, that he just had such a love affair with Anthony Davis. He wanted Anthony Davis to come to the Mavericks so badly that he was willing to do something. It's not just that they traded away Luka, which is, Nico. I don't think Nico Harris understands the ramifications for the rest of his life and his professional career for what he did. But it's that they gave him away for not 40 cents on the dollar, not 30 cents on it, maybe 25 cents on the dollar. When you consider it was Anthony Davis, and it's not like Anthony Davis was making like a minimum contract. You still have to pay him his full amount. It's Anthony Davis plus 1 first-round pick in 2029 when the Lakers had a 2031 pick to give additionally. This almost looks like Nico Harrison didn't want to try to get that extra pick or any other extra picks or get Utah to throw in extra first-round picks. This is something where if they had said it was Anthony Davis plus I'm trying to remember their point guard's name for the Lakers right now, and then four first-round picks. I think in that case, Austin Reeves. If it had been Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, and 4 first-round picks, even as a Mavericks fan, I would have been upset. but that would have seemed more fair to me than what we ended up doing right here. And so for them getting him basically on, like what I said, 40 cents on the dollar, I see these people that are Lakers fans are like, no, Anthony Davis is incredible. I've been watching this story as long as he's been in the league. He will be hurt in the next couple weeks. There'll be a broken finger, a strained contusion in his calf. Something's going to happen. He's going to miss 4 or 5 weeks. This happens over and over again. And the idea that this is somehow going to put the Mavericks over the top is utter and complete lunacy. So you've given away a piece. If you got several pieces back, I would understand. But that's not what's happened. Instead, we put ourselves in a pretty bad situation here. And if the Mavericks went on a playoff run and made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, I would still say this is a terrible trade because you didn't even get half the value of what you could have gotten for Luka. And the other part you were saying before, how shocking it was. First team All NBA players. A guy's been in the league 6 years. He's made 5 first team All NBA teams. When max contracts come up, you just sign them to the max contracts. It's not like, I know 5 years for $345 million, which is what Luka was eligible for this season. I know that seems like a lot of money, but still, even at close to $70 million a year, all 30 teams would have traded for Luka Doncic. The point is, like, you're not saddled with Luka Doncic just because you have to pay him $70 million a year. Other teams, you could have traded him away even after that point. So getting rid of him now, it feels very much like the husband who has a pretty wife, and rather than waiting for her to cheat on him, he goes ahead and divorces her beforehand. That's what this whole thing feels like. It feels like Nico Harrison had a victim mentality, and maybe there was some ruffling of the feathers between he and Luka. But this doesn't. I've pushed this trade through several AI models, through NBA 2K, along with listening to hundreds of talking heads, and no one can come up with a rational reason for doing something like this.
There hasn't been one single rational, logical explanation to support doing this. There was like that. All the ones that you hear are just kind of like trying really hard to zag on this. Like, oh, he's overweight. He's this, that. Like, even if you wanted to trade him, what is this return?
Yeah. So the other part that people are like, I hear the people in Los Angeles, because they're still LA focused. They're like, well, there was a problem between AD and LeBron. I want people to understand this. This had nothing to do with Los Angeles. This had nothing to do with any of this. Anything other than the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks contacted the Los Angeles Lakers, meaning Nico Harrison contacted Rob Pelinka. They had talks about this for weeks. And the part that really, really disgusts me more than anything is that, when I have a tough decision to make, I need to contact people who are very close to me and say, who have my best interest in mind. So Nico Harrison did not talk to Dumont, who's the governor of the team, about this. He did not talk to Jason Kidd. He did not talk to Michael Finley. He didn't talk to anyone else about this. He made this decision unilaterally with one advisor, his friend, Rob Pelinka. Well, as much as Rob Pelinka and Nico Harrison may be friends, Rob Pelinka's first priority is not the Dallas Mavericks. And so because of this, what's happened is he's sold Luka for 40 cents on the dollar. Luka didn't want to do this. And we've ended up in a situation where, just same old Mavericks. Let's go off and, get Keith Van Horn and Sean Bradley. We're back to those Mavericks, just dolty, stupid old Mavericks. Let's go get Eric Dampier, like the dumb Mavericks of the past that just kept making one horrible free agent acquisition after another. It seems like we've been struck back. Reverted back to that cursed version of the Dallas Mavericks now, just because of what's happened here today. This is tantamount, I think, to the Babe Ruth trade, like that level of stupidity that we're going to find out here in a little bit. And I think the other part is, I want to bring this up. There's other ramifications to this. Sheldon, the Adelson family and Dumont. So Sivian Dumont is the son-in-law of Sheldon and Miriam Adelson. He's the governor of the Dallas Mavericks. The Adelsons were trying to get casinos passed legally in the state of Texas, so they would be able to build casinos. That's done now. No lawmaker in the state of Texas wants to come anywhere near them. They are nuclear waste at this point. Mark Cuban, I said previously, I speculated whether Mark Cuban had something to do with this. He still is 30% owner of the team. He says he has nothing to do with this. I'm very curious to see how he's going to try to spin this. But, I mean, the thing that actually bothers me the most is how Jason Kidd was kept in the dark about this. So Nico Harrison is basically saying, my opinion means so much that I don't need to confer with anyone else on this team. And I really do think that that's very, very irresponsible to do so. And then the idea is like, oh, did LeBron know or not know? There's no GM in the history of the NBA that does not take this trade from the Lakers side. Just want to make sure you understand.
Yes.
There's no opinion that goes on there. Even Nico Harrison, if he's the GM of some other team, he's going to take this trade. There's no GM on earth who doesn't make this trade. Rob Pelinka is going to win Executive of the Year this year because of this move, but he doesn't deserve it because he did no work to make this happen. He just swindled the Dallas Mavericks for Luka Doncic. So that's pretty much what's going on here. But this has nothing to do with the Lakers or LeBron's relationship with so-and-so or moving on from LeBron. There's no NBA team that doesn't make this trade. If the Mavericks go to Orlando and say, we want Paolo Banchero and 4 first-round picks, Orlando says, yes, sir. When would you like that? How can we deliver you cash as well? There's no NBA team that doesn't do this, save for Wembanyama and maybe Jokic and maybe Antetokounmpo. There's no one that some team wouldn't have traded for Luka.
They could have literally gotten anything they wanted, bar like the exceptions you mentioned, like Joker and even like Giannis and all those guys. Like you,
I think they would have gotten Giannis. I think they could have gotten Giannis for Luka. I'm not kidding. I think they could have gotten Giannis for Luka. The way the Milwaukee's looking right now, I think they could have pulled that off.
Did it seem like it was a personal thing for you? Like this guy Nico comes in, he has some kind of personal something against Luka, and there were reports like they told him to get in shape, and he's like, no, fuck you, this is how I am. And Nico was like, well, we'll show you, fuck you, we'll show you who's in charge. But I mean, go ahead.
I don't think it got to that point. I really don't. I do think it's more of like Nico is, I'm the smartest person in the room, and so I know things that you guys don't. Some almost like a conspiracy theory person who's like, I know stuff that you don't know. I think Nico Harris is like, I see this mastermind trade that the rest of the world can't see, and just wait till the rest of you can see my genius. I think it's more something like that. Nico Harris made some unbelievably shrewd moves to build an incredible roster for the Dallas Mavericks, and then used his connections and to get some other players like Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson to come to the team. He had actually, from this point, I would have given him a 9 or a 10 out of 10 as a GM. And then for him to make this move makes me think that he basically was reading his own press clippings too much. Or what's more likely, what happened was his relationship with AD. He just saw it in his mind. It's almost like, let's just say you and I are running an American university, and we want to get a head football coach, and we're willing to buy him out of his previous contract. Even though we have a relationship with this guy, are we really willing to pay $100 million to get this guy out of his previous contract? We've overpaid for something that we overvalue because we have a personal relationship. That's what's happened here. Nico Harrison has said, because I have a personal relationship with AD, he puts AD at like a 9 or a 10, when AD, realistically, when you count injuries, is probably a 6.5 out of 10. Even though, again, when he's healthy, he's an incredible player. He's one of the 15 best players in the world. But when we talk about Luka, we're talking about one of the 3 best players in the entire world, and probably one of the top 5 best players of all time if he stayed at this pace. And so this is not apples for apples kind of thing. This is not the difference between Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis is not 1 first-round draft pick. So that's where we've gotten to this situation. And again, it's a lot. I woke up this morning, and I really wasn't processing it. I woke up this morning, and then it was the first time I actually felt like true and utter sadness for the reality that this is what's going on. And I have a friend of mine, Jake Kemp. He said something that I kind of agree with, and basically it's, if the Mavericks make a run this year, I don't fucking care. I really don't care. Like Luke, it was more than Luka playing well. It was just like we brought him here first. He loved the city. He just bought a $15 million house last week. He wanted to be here. There was an energy, and there was a level of entertainment, and there was a level of love between him and the city. If they go off on a run, I honestly don't really care if they go on a run, because what they did was just so horrific.
This is where I wanted, the direction I wanted to actually take this into, because a lot of people are making fun of it. It's become a meme. But aside from all those memes and all the funny shit making fun of the Mavericks, this hurts for Mavericks fans. Like, it truly hurts. Like, to wake up to this. I mean, I actually wanted to play a clip here and ask you to react to it. and I wanted to know how much you resonate with this clip. So this is a Mavericks fan being interviewed yesterday.
My whole entire life since I've been a baby. This is the worst moment in the history of my life. This is ridiculous. This is crazy, man. We went to the NBA Finals. Why are we trading the best player, the franchise player? How are we trading the franchise player? We went to the NBA Finals. He's supposed to have a statue. He's supposed to have a statue. Dirk got a statue right there. It's supposed to be Luka right there. Why we don't got a statue for Luka? This new management is putting profit over fans. Profit over fans. Feel me? They're not worried about the fans. They don't care that we've invested 7 years of it believing in Luka, believing in building a team around Luka. They don't care about that. They just want to make the gambling money, make a couple $100 million, and leave us stuck out here. You know, now we're back to square one. We're back to square zero. You feel me? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I see the sentiment. I would hope me as a Mavericks fan longer. I've been a Mavericks fan longer than anyone in that video. I've been a Mavericks fan since 1980. I remember being 4 years old and had my first Dallas Mavericks cap. But the thing about it is, you have to go on. I would try to console the guy. Like, it sucks, and I know a lot of Mavericks fans feel that way. This should not be the worst thing in your entire life. In my sports life, this is one of the worst things that I've ever seen. Definitely, probably number one. But I mean, yeah, it is one of these things where, like, you see I don't think Nico Harrison, I certainly don't think the Allisons really truly understand what they've done from a PR perspective, how bad this is going to be for the team. Even if the team turns around and starts winning, I still don't think how long and lingering the distrust is going to be for something like this. And like, what a poor strategic thing, because there's no way that had Nico Harrison allowed several other people into his circle to say, hey guys, I'm considering something, let's go over it. If he had 10 other people, all 10 of them would have said, absolutely not. This makes no sense unless we're going to make this trade and include somewhere between 5, 6, 7 first-round draft picks and a budding superstar. This trade doesn't make sense, because we could, even if we've overestimated the value of Luka, that's what the rest of the league felt Luka was worth. And so for them to not shop him, for them to instead to trade him to one of his friends. Remember, Rob Pelinka was Kobe Bryant's agent, and Nico Harrison was Kobe Bryant's representative at Nike. Because of the fact that they are so close, the only person he conferred with in order to make this trade was someone on the other team. That doesn't bode well for your decision-making process. I'm actually going to use this as a teaching moment for my students, for my clients, to just show what a victim mentality and a closed mindset does. Is it causes you to make very, very stupid decisions. And I'll go on record of this. This isn't going to work out for Dallas, meaning Dallas isn't going to just start winning championships because of this. This is something they're going to have to climb out from underneath, start making some really good draft picks, try to figure stuff out. But in 2029, that's when we start reaping the benefits of this. 2029, that's when we get a first round draft pick. This is just, I mean, it's pretty unspeakable. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I love listening to other people try to like cope, or, this helps the Dallas Mavericks win now. No, it doesn't. What helps the Dallas Mavericks win now is Luka gets over his calf injury. He comes out there and he plays with a healthy team full of solid defensive players, and the Mavericks make another run for the NBA Finals. That's what helps the Dallas Mavericks now. What's happened instead is now all the primary ball carrying, ball handling opportunities now go solely to Kyrie Irving, who is not a distributor. He is still a finisher. He's a scoring guard. The Mavericks are now going to have to go at another. Is it Dinwiddie? Does he make it to the starting lineup? I don't understand how this works. This does not make the Mavericks better. They're not a better three-point shooting team. This Mavericks team is not a better offensive team. Defensively, are they better? Yes, but like, there's so many ways. We saw this in the Rudy Gobert situation. While Anthony Davis is a tremendous defensive player, when you put him out on the perimeter, he can guard some players, but not all of them. This does not change the entire dynamic of the Western Conference. Because if Anthony Davis was such an incredible defensive player playing along with LeBron, then with that team they had, they'd be better than they are right now. And so I don't know, man. I'm just, at first I'm speechless. At first I didn't think, this reminded me very much of the feeling I had when I heard Kobe Bryant died. It's that level of just like disbelief. But I think this is something we're going to be talking about for 50 years. And this is going to be very similar to the Scott Norwood missing that kick in the Super Bowl against the Giants with the Bills, where he had to live with this for the rest of his life. This is going to be the missed field goal, the missed extra point that Nico Harrison is going to have to live with for the rest of his life.
I think it was just so surreal to see him in that press conference with Jason Kidd yesterday.
Yeah.
And see him so proudly state, thank you to Rob Pelinka for not leaking this. Like, of course he's not fucking leaking that. Do you think he wants anyone to know that there's a chance that other people can compete and outbid easily this offer? And you could just tell Jason Kidd was like, I cannot believe this is happening. He's just a straight face.
You guys paid me too much money for me to have an opinion right now. Yeah, it was very much like that.
I'll just tell you quickly, Mike, the closest thing I can think of as a Raptors fan, because I grew up a Raptors fan. We had the whole Vince Carter craze, and they traded away Vince Carter for like old man Alonzo Mourning, who didn't want to play for us, Eric Williams, Aaron Williams from the Nets, and just junk. And we all were just devastated. I'm still not over that day.
But there's logic and reason behind it. There was like Vince wanted to leave, or they had the relationship had soured. There's some reason, even Jeff Hornacek being traded for Charles Barkley in '92. Like, there's a reason behind it. There was some reason to do this. This one is where there's no reason. The team isn't tanking. It's not over. There's no rationale other than, and I don't know how else to say this, Nico Harrison's internal arrogance, thinking he's just smarter than everyone else. There is no other reason behind it. And the fact that, this is something like this has happened. Again, I really, and I'm not trying to say this would be funny. I don't think the Adelsons, the Dumonts, or Nico Harrison really have come to the realization, because they're not from Dallas, of how serious this is going to affect the rest of their lives. Like them taking their kids to school, them getting any sponsorship opportunities for the Mavericks. That's done now. Like, I could see several dozen sponsors pulling their money from the Mavericks. In the long run, this was a bad deal, even if the Mavericks have a slightly better record this year. And I don't think they've thought through what they're doing. And I could see Nico Harrison maybe lasting a year or two, and then probably being let go after this.
Can I ask you about a potential conspiracy? And
sure.
I'm excited to ask you about it. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I know you're largely not either, right? So I know that about you, and neither am I. But this one, I was like, okay. So there's this viral take on Twitter talking about how, because no one can justify this on basketball terms, right? There has to be something else that explains this.
Or video game terms. If you try to push this through on NBA 2K, the trade would get rejected.
Right.
It's because it's not a rational trade. Yeah.
Right. So the conspiracy is this, that they want to eventually move this team to Vegas, and they can't really justify pitching it if the team is good and the team has a bright future in Dallas, and Dallas is a huge market. Yeah. So the conspiracy would be, you just get this team so bad, make so many irrational decisions, fans start not attending games, and it's like, okay, well, let's move. The NBA would probably want this if this moved to Vegas instead. Yeah, I just wanted to see what you think.
So I'm not. So while you're saying that's a conspiracy, that's obviously come up in their minds. There's no way the Adelsons haven't considered moving the Mavericks to Vegas. Their estimation or their connect. So people don't understand, because people who aren't from Dallas don't become Mavericks fans. You're a Mavericks fan because you grew up there, or you're just a really big fan of Dirk or Luka. That's why you become a Mavericks fan. Generally, like, we don't have bandwagon fans. We're not the Golden State Warriors. For people like me who were born in East Dallas, the love affair between us and the team, for a lot of us, the Mavericks come before the Cowboys, because they were always the underdog, like the abused stepbrother in the whole Dallas-Fort Worth sports equation. And so we love, like, there's a lot of us who have a very, very strong, very deep connection with the Dallas Mavericks. And I remember, I watched them all through the bad years when they had Jim Jackson and Jason Kidd, and they won like 11 games like that. I was there for that whole period. And I'll tell you, like, the Adelsons I don't think fully grasp the connection between the team and the city. And it's in downtown Dallas. It's not like the Cowboys, who are off in Arlington. And so I think it's not that it's a conspiracy or not a conspiracy. It's definitely something they consider. There's no way they don't consider doing something like this. Yes, Las Vegas needs a basketball team. The arena for the basketball stadium is going to be built up here on the north end of the strip, right there by Turnberry Towers, and just a little bit north of the Sphere.
Not an Allegiant. It would be a totally different.
No, not Allegiant's too big for a basketball team. It would be T-Mobile, I think, would be fine for a basketball team, but they're going to build a separate basketball arena, and then also the tallest casinos in the city are going to be in the north part of the city. So I do think that could happen. I would like to see Adam Silver at least have enough backbone to stand up against something like that. But yes, I'm going to tell you right now, if it was offered to the Adelsons to move the Mavericks out of Dallas, I think after the death threats that they're going to be receiving for the next few months, I think in their estimation, it probably would be better for them to, they would accept the offer to move the Mavericks to Las Vegas, which the ultimate irony is me being the biggest Mavericks fan of all time living in Las Vegas. It'd be kind of interesting for me, but for the rest of Dallas, I would never want to see something like that happen. But yeah, what you're talking about, a conspiracy, it's not that it's a conspiracy or not a conspiracy. I'm sure it's something they consider frequently. Is every NBA owner who's not in love with the team, I'm sure Ross Perot felt this. Well, Ross Perot, when he owned the team, actually was from the North Texas area, so that's not quite the same. But I could absolutely see the Adelsons doing that.
Michael, thanks for your time. My condolences to you and all the Mavericks fans out there. I know this is hard. I'm not a Mavericks fan, but it hurts. It hurts to see this trade go down, to be honest. But thank you for your time. Where can people find you, just in case?
Just go on Instagram, go Michael Sartain. Obviously, I talk about self-improvement most of the time. I do talk about sports very infrequently, but this is one of my passions. So, and I talk about it when we have private conversations, we have discussions about this all the time. But yeah, this is you guys will remember where you were when this happened. For those of you who don't understand anything about basketball, you don't know anything about Luka Doncic. You're just you watch European football. All you care about is soccer. There's nothing else. Even for those of you who have no comprehension of what's going on here, just consider Lionel Messi in his prime being traded for a bag of donuts. That's essentially what's happened. For those of you who are not, you're not conceiving of what's going on. Yeah. Just consider a top 5 player, possibly of all time, being traded for 20 cents on the dollar. That's essentially what's happened.
Yeah, crazy stuff. All right, Michael, appreciate your time. Thank you so much, man.
All right, man. Take care.